I was at 9/11. It was in Island, California, the desert training camp we have out there. And while we were all eating breakfast, the instructor walked in, and he said, "Boys, Todd Hawker was killed last night, coming home." And he let that sink in for a minute, and Todd slept right next to me. I didn't even notice it. He went through a class before me, but we were all in this training together. And he let that sink in for a minute. He goes, "Get your shit and be out in the range in 15 minutes." And he walked out. And I remember how hard that hit me. I was like, oh, man. No memorial, no moment, no moment of silence. I mean, no counselor's going to come out and talk to us or something. I mean, he's dead and that's it. And that's when it really hit me of the guys that I was with. There's nothing you can do about it. You need to move on, get your stuff, and get out here and get training done.
Wow.
And, so it was a powerful lesson of the type of guys that I was with. These, stallions. These are thoroughbreds. And there's no time for that. We got a job to do. So just same with 9/11, but I was older in SEAL team at that point. I'd done all my platoons, and when 9/11 happened, to go back to a team, go through all the workups. A lot of guys think that when you're a SEAL and something happens, that everybody grabs a gun and runs to it, and that's not the case. If you're not in a qualified, what we call C1 combat ready platoon, you have to check off all the blocks. So when you get into a SEAL platoon, you're going back through land navigation, over the horizon navigation, all your combat swimmer, all your land warfare, all your demolitions, all your air operations. You have all these blocks to check that you have been trained in, and you are certified C1 combat ready. And you deploy overseas, and if something happens, then you go. But when these little things come up, Afghanistan, Iraq, there's plenty of guys back home that are getting in platoons or getting out of platoons, or Grenada. Nobody was running over there except the guys that were ready to go. C1, Panama, Desert Storm.
So there's none of this Hollywood movie, the Suburban shows up in front of your house, you're back there welding, your tractor together, and this guy comes, Colonel comes, "Okay, son, we need you back on the front line," and you just drop your torch and go jumping in the Suburban. None of that goes on.
No, you're thrust in a platoon with 16 other guys, and you go through the training that you know everything about them. And I went through one training block for winter warfare that lasted almost 2 years before we deployed. Most of it's about 15 months of training before a 6-month deployment overseas. Some of it's happened quicker. I grabbed a group of guys and we went to Liberia because there was no one else. That was an exception. 8 of us went. And some other things have happened, but you're not welcome in a platoon if you haven't been training with that platoon. So when you look at the 82nd Airborne, the 1st Marine Division, things like that, when something goes on, yeah, those guys are going. Minus dudes on leave and things, because that's what they're designed for, these bigger units.
Yes.
But that's not the case with SEALs. But I was getting too old in the SEAL team after 9/11. I really wanted to go, but Blackwater would give me a gun. And I was one of the first guys to jump over with Blackwater. I retired. My buddy, I talked to my buddy. I said, he wrote orders for us, a SEAL. I said, "Jim, what's the fastest you ever saw somebody retire?" And he said, 30 days.
Wow.
20 days later, I was out of the Navy. And
wow.
I was in Pakistan and Afghanistan with Blackwater, and had a great time, but it was not the SEAL team. But, the ride was over as far as I was concerned there, and move on to something else.
Well, I just want to give a warning to anybody out there in the world who thinks that America's weak or we're stupid or something like that, because if there is ever another 9/11 event, I wish people would have saw when I saw that Army Ranger unit do that fire line exercise, and I saw with my own eyes that firepower from them Apaches and Cobras, and then I saw those other artillery howitzers rounds come in, and I saw the different companies moving in formation. Dude, you have no fucking snowball's chance in hell dealing with the firepower and the might of the United States military. I'm just throwing that warning out there. Now, a lot of you clowns out there think you can do something, but you will be utterly I'm telling you, you will be utterly decimated. And this isn't a joke. This isn't pretend. This is total reality.
Yeah, there's some badasses. I was a SEAL, but I wouldn't want to see a company of Marines coming to me, man.
Oh, hell no.
Some of those guys, man, those doggone Marines, man, they are out there, boy. They are tough.
They are.
The Army, the Rangers, and just some of these organizations. SEALs we're the new kids on the block. We've only been around since the 60s, and we've got a 70-year history since 43. But some of these units have, boy, some of the things they've done and accomplished.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not even mention, and a lot of people don't talk about this, but each branch of the military has its own, I guess, spooks or secret or intelligent agency, okay? We have regular Army, and then there's the intelligence side of it. Listen, folks, I know if you watch Fox News and all that, you'll think, oh my God, we're full of a bunch of incompetence, but that is not the case. We have sharp, intelligent men and women, as sharp as razor blades in key positions. Now, some of our political leaders, unfortunately, we citizens have elected are goofy as hell, and they don't really know what's going on. But in our professional Army, and yes, boys and girls, we have a very professional Army. They are sharp, and we do have the aces in their places. There's no incompetence for the most part in the military.
Well, I think that, journalists and, other people and just organizations highlight, and I just had an incident like that, when there's nothing to the truth, then you got to start making shit up.
Yes.
And a lot of them highlight the bad things that go on, and they never highlight the good things.
Yes.
The Black Lives Matter thing is a great example. I think there are more good cops out there than there are bad ones. I've seen those shootings on videotape, and I just like to strangle myself. How could you have shot that guy running away from you? What is going on? But then they forget about all the good things these guys do, and it's just.
It's sort of like that movie. There was a movie out there where it was a LA cop. All right, the guy was basically a racist scumbag. He felt up the woman when they had a traffic stop, right? But later on in the movie, the woman's in a car accident. She's upside down. The car's on fire. The same cop that felt her up later helps her escape from this burning fire. Okay. The moral of the story is yes, there's racist pricks and assholes out there. True enough. And it's not necessarily racist or asshole for one to love his or her own so-called race, if you want to believe that way. But when you start using that ideology in position of power, say that you're commanding a platoon, and you intentionally send your minorities out there to get, be cannon fodder, while, your white, compadres are held in the back. Now, that's totally bad, okay? But for the most part, what we're talking about here tonight, that shit doesn't go down. When you get to that point and you're in brotherhood, and perhaps Chief can speak on this a little more, you're in the brotherhood of the thing. It's not saying that it's not there, but that's not the motivating situation. Is that safe to say?
The SEALs are getting a really kind of, because SEALs are in the media. Everybody's on about SEALs writing books. Well, we're in the media constantly over exploits, the whole Bin Laden thing. But right now, it's a SEAL bashing. We just had this big drug thing. Okay, duh. These are guys that have been there and done that. They're tired, and they're adventurous type of guys, and things happen.
Yes.
That's all they're going to highlight. Now it's all this bashing, and it's just terrible that we forget all the good things that go on.
Yes.
I'll tell you one of my because you mentioned that about the car turning over. I'll tell you the best leadership lesson I ever learned in the Navy, and I as terrible as it was, I wish it would happen to everybody. You ready for this one?
Ready.
I was running land warfare training at Fort A.P. Hill for a bunch of new guys who just graduated buds. We called it SEAL Tactical Training. And they were doing a really good job. We were working some really long days and long hours. We didn't take any time off. And I told those clowns on Friday, I said, you boys been doing really, really well up here. Go home for the weekend. I want you back up here on this bus, ready to go your weapons and your gear at 0800 Monday morning. Don't be late. And I let him go. 0800, we're missing one guy. He's a new guy. When you're a new guy in SEAL team, you don't want to be that guy that does something stupid. 8:30 comes around, and I am chomping at the bit. 9 o'clock rolls around. He's still not there. I am outside the bus with all those guys cringing on it, pacing around like an absolute maniac. And here he comes. He pulls up. And I started at that kid's feet and went right to the top of his head and back down to his feet again in this tirade of expletives and responsibility. I gave you, you made me look, I gave you an opportunity and you gooned this up, and that's not how new guys and SEAL team and all this shit operates. And I made a complete, total ass of myself in front of all those guys. And then at the very end of that tirade, I went, so where were you? And he looked right back at me and he said, Chief, I was driving up here and a car in front of me rolled over and went into a flooded ditch. And there was one woman in the car, and I held her hand until they could excavate her out of that car.
Son of a bitch.
You should have seen the look on my face. I went, oh my God. Boy, did I just step in it. Holy crap, man. And I confirmed it, and he did do that.
Wow.
And so ever since then, I never jump to any conclusions. I want to hear your side of the story and the other guy's side of the story. I will never do that, and I think it's powerful for everybody to do. So to make matters worse, that kid was killed about 6 weeks later in Canada. His name was Isaac Rodriguez. To make matters even worse, his uncle was a special forces guy in Vietnam, Roy Benitez, that got the Congressional Medal of Honor. And it was just it was terrible. I had a hard time with that one, but I never, ever did it again, not to this day.
But see,
so, don't jump to conclusions, man. You got to get both sides of it.
That's what's called experience, Master Chief. That's what's called, actually being out there and learning every day. We're only human, and shit happens. But hey, where were you?
I didn't do it again.
Well, Chief, I just want to tell you, I appreciate, thank you, sir, for taking your time, to speak with us tonight. And more importantly, just thank you for being the cool person you are, brother. Just seriously, I mean, there's no arrogance with you, no, I'm, this big guy on TV and all that good stuff. And I just, seriously, just want to say thank you, sir.
Yeah, I appreciate it, bro. It means a lot. I've been lucky and made some right decisions. I got a good woman behind me.
There you go.
So when you talk about everybody's answers to somebody, I'm an old retired commando, but I answer to her. Well, I tell you that.
And I've seen her on your.
Piss around with me.
I tell you what, your wife there tickles me to death. I love her little country voice there, and when she was telling you about when you had killed that lamb there, that I don't, who wants to eat some old mutton? You killed that little lamb. She got fired up on that. That just cracked me hell up. But, I hope you have a great weekend, brother. And this has been Special Report.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Guys, you take it easy, bro.
You too, bro. Bye. Awesome. Awesome, 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 guys. Look, we got more things going. More things to come. This is just the beginning. And this is True Power's Mine. The show's been brought to you by Atrium Construction for all your construction needs. And also by the other store. Soon, coming very, very soon. Thank you.